At these at the ongoing African Alliance of Trade Unions meeting in Abuja.
Reacting to the advice of the Registrar of Trade Unions on how labor should conduct themselves as they carry out their responsibilities of protecting the interest of workers and Nigerians by extension, Ajaero pleaded with the federal government to change what he called those bad economic policies that make wages next to nothing.
Well, he also said the Nigerian police, the IG, who is now performing the duties of Ministry of Labor. The duty of Ministry of Labor includes addressing the issue of both inter and intra-union dispute. He said it is not within the purview of the Inspector General of Police to go into that area, and he thinks there is a need for the Ministry of Labor to educate the police, to tell them that they don't have the right to usurp its functions. And if they do that, the Ministry of Labor will go into extinction and there will be no basis for the Minister of Labor to remain there. He also said, we say it is legal, I quote him, and we demand an apology from the IG of Police for arresting or even contemplating to arrest the president of the National Union of Road Transport Workers for whatever reason. We had that last week, over the weekend. On the eve of the election, it is unheard of in the history of this country. He said, and never again should that be entertained. Nigerian police against Nigerian workers. He says, we will not waste time too much in their offices. Let them use the same gun that we bought with the workers' tax tonight to engage us. That's the question we asked. Well, let's just stay hopeful that, of course, the issue of the fuel hike doesn't even happen, because if this happens, and then one thing I still want to wonder, I mean, it's been getting to 3 months since we had the fuel subsidy removed, and then palliatives has been lingering. We haven't still had something on ground.
Well, at least we understand that back here in the state of Akwa Ibom, the state governor, Pastor Moino, already constituted a committee that is supposed to be responsible for...
I like the fact you say supposed to be.
Of course, they are responsible for circulating the already received palliatives. Understand that they've received something already in the state. So it's now left for the committee to arrive at the sharing formula. But I'm skeptical. How are they going to be able to identify the people that really need those palliatives?
You see, that's when we talked about the issue of National Social Register the other time. Well, let's just keep that aside and quickly get to Niger Republic. And that's the second report we're looking at today on the program. Well, the Niger Republic's military junta had agreed to dialogue with the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to actually resolve the political crisis in the country. Nigeria's intervention team comprised of scholars from various Islamic sects in the country, and stated that in a statement just yesterday. And the team, led by Sheikh Balalau, met at the weekend in the with the coup leader, General Abdurrahman Chani, during which they deliberated on all the issues, including the ECOWAS demand to reinstate former President Bazoum.
Balalau, in a statement signed yesterday, said the team was in Niger on behalf of President Bola Tinubu, who approved their request to intervene, according to media reports. He therefore told General Chiani that the visit to Niger was to engage in constructive dialogue, to encourage him and other military leaders behind the coup to toe the path of peace instead of war to resolve the crisis.
Well, responding to this, General Chiani, who accorded the team's warm reception, welcomed their intervention. He said their doors were open to explore diplomacy and peace in resolving the matter. He said it was painful that ECOWAS leaders did not hear their own side of the matter before issuing an ultimatum to quit office, and also claimed that the coup was well intended. He also added that they struck to stave off an imminent threat that would have affected not only Niger Republic but also Nigeria.
While apologizing for not giving the required attention to the team earlier sent by President Tinubu, the coup leader explained that it was because they were angry about the ECOWAS ultimatum.
Well, meanwhile, the ousted President Mohamed Bazoum could be prosecuted for high treason. Well, the junta that seized power in a West African country said that today. This was made known by Colonel Amadou Abdrahman, a spokesperson for the junta, on state TV. And according to Reuters, Abdrahman noted that the junta had assembled the necessary elements to prosecute the ousted president for high treason and undermining the internal and external security of Niger.
The African Union, AU, said it was holding a meeting today on the crisis in Niger following the coup on July 26 that toppled President Mohamed Bazoum.
Yeah.
The meeting was taking place at the AU headquarters in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, that report had said. And those attending include AU Commission Chief Moussa Faki Mohamed, as well as representatives from Niger and the West African.
Called his treatment at the hands of coup leaders unacceptable. It was actually reported that he was and slammed ECOWAS for imposing sanctions on the country for not even giving them attention or hearing their own sides of the story. Well, Bazoum, 63, and his family have been held at the president's official Niamey residence since the coup started.
Really, I don't know. They're going back and forth. We are hearing this minute that
they're going to listen and ready to dialogue.
You're ready for dialogue, and then the next minute you're charging your president for treason.
High treason, not just treason.
So it's really complicated. Let's hope the coming days will be really interesting. Events that would unfold.
Okay. All right, a quick one. Let's head to the next story back here in Nigeria. Well, last week at the conclusion of the screening of ministerial nominees by the Senate, which was presided over by the Senate President Godswill Akpabio, he had said the clerk of the National Assembly will send token into the senators' various bank accounts to enable them enjoy their holiday. I don't know why I'm smiling and I'm saying this. Well, a statement which has drawn condemnations from several Nigerians. And the Senate President specifically stated that in order to enable all of them, in his word, all of us to enjoy our holiday, a token has been sent to our various bank accounts by the clerk of the National Assembly.
Well, Senator Akpabio had made the statement before the adjournment of the upper chamber for a long recess, upon being told by some of his colleagues that the live coverage of the event was still on, and realizing that the statement will cast him in unflattering light before the Nigerian public. The Senate President corrected himself.
Well, Senator Akpabio then made another remark saying, I withdraw that statement, and then proceed to say, in order to allow you to enjoy your holiday, the Senate President has sent prayers into your boxes to assist you to go on a safe journey and return. Well, Senator Akpabio may have made the statement in a fit of, joy de vivre, probably to appreciate his colleagues for concluding the task of screening the nominees for the ministerial positions. But Nigerians were not
taking umbrage at the Senate President's remarks. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, threatened to sue.
Well, according to them, they said, we are suing the Senate President Godswill Akpabio over the alleged payment of holiday allowances into the various accounts of senators, and someone...
What's the norm that when a country is going through a period of this nature, especially Nigeria, the state where we find ourselves, is not supposed to behove on our leaders like the Red Chamber to
make sure we're settled.
Put a hold on such a
spending
interest that you get, such a oversight interest that you get.
Well, similarly, the Executive Director of Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, Awu Musa Rafsanjani, said they are seriously worried about such unguarded development from the Senate President and careless action of the leadership of the National Assembly at this critical moment when common Nigerians are struggling to survive on basic needs. It says it is very unfortunate that such a statement could be made by the Senate President at this time when Nigerians are still waiting for palliatives or any form of succor from the government following the subsidy removal, which is taking a toll on their finances. He said it is more worrying that this is not the first time the Senate President is exhibiting such insensitivity towards the plight of Nigerians. Not too long ago, during a debate on the prevailing harsh socio-economic conditions Nigerians are having to cope with, Senator Kwabi and several senators were heard making light of the term "let the poor breathe," often cited by the Nigerians to define their economic situation. Well, Nigerians condemned that action then, and they are condemning that of the token right now, an indication that something is seriously wrong with the way the lawmakers are perceiving, of course, or being perceived by the work for which they were elected by their constituents.
Senator Fabio's statement exemplifies the unwholesome attitude by legislators because on both occasions we did not see the lawmakers raise objections to the substance of the statement. Rather, they objected to the fact that it was said in public. Nigerians are ruefully observed that in the short time of its existence, the 10th Assembly has set a score on being insensitive to their plight. Nigerians have not only been appalled by the apparent mockery of indigent, they are indignant at the proclivity for self-entitlement by the lawmakers.
While also reacting to the statement, Mohammed Ali Ndume, a senator representing Borno South in the 10th Senate, asked if it is a big deal for a senator to receive a 2 million naira allowance. And further speaking, he said, all the senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria received 2 million naira. I am making this comment with a heavy heart because he, Akpabio, was responsible for the controversy. We will take drastic action against Akpabio if he continues to speak like this and act as if we are kids. Lastly, he said Akpabio made a wrong statement, and I warned him immediately that his statement was unbecoming as a leader.
Well, it's not surprising to hear a senator belittling the sum of 2 million naira. Maybe you should try to give that to a common Nigerian on the street and see if it's that small.
They're not going to jump up.
Well, Senator Abdul Ningi, who is the representative of Bauchi Central Senatorial District,
he also commented.
Yeah, he expressed his disapproval of the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, for making public the holiday allowance for senators on national television. I think he said the way the Senate President made the information public was inappropriate. He questioned the source of the allowances and why the Senate President did not provide further details. He suggested that the Senate President's actions were a source of embarrassment to himself and the National Assembly.
Well, the Bauchi Senator Ningi acknowledged that the public is resentful of the remark and he finds it challenging to accept. Similar to many Nigerians, he expressed I don't comprehend what 2 million naira would do for a vacation. He said, I find it very hard to comprehend what this money is for. Well, he declared that some of his fellow legislators have been given the 2 million naira, which says allowance actually, while he has not yet received his own share. What is he trying to say here? Anyway, let's just take a pause and then we'll come back and talk better. Let's try to connect to our guest. And then, of course, we'll come back and then we'll talk about the story better. To stay tuned. We'll be coming right back.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
All right, welcome to the show. Welcome back. It's The Law of the People and Governance here on Spectrum Television, a program that bridges the gap between the government and the people. And here we talk about socio-political trends. So we've been discussing some of the reports that are trending here in Nigeria, and of course even in Niger Republic as well. So coming back, we still have Xavier here instead. Welcome back, Xavier.
Many thanks. Many thanks, Rachel.
And then we're being joined by a guest who is here live in the studio with us, Paulinus Peter. He is a public affairs analyst and a political analyst as well. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
All right, so back to what we were discussing. Let's head straight to the first story. Before you came in, now we looked at you know, the warning by the NLC. Of course, we are hearing reports that there may be another hike in fuel price due to, you know, the fluctuation or the rise in dollar. And if this happens eventually, of course, what does this mean for Nigerians when we are yet to receive palliatives from the federal government?
Well, if I should start from the very concluding statement of yours, I will want to say that I've never been a supporter of palliatives. And that's because there's no economy in the world that survives on palliatives. And for me, the concept of palliatives has always been a way that the leaders, you know, will normally use to further, you know, triangulate the economy. So for me, the concept of palliative is never in the best interest. Is never in the best interest of the Nigerian people. That's because if you look at the budget, if that should go on of the so-called palliative, you understand that the budget or the money invested in it must have gone a long way to put in some fundamental things that will drive the economy and leads to work and wealth creation and employment generation. So for me, palliative is always a deceit in disguise. I'm not a fan, I'm not a supporter of that.
So, Mr. Peter, does it not surprise you that we are just talking about fuel subsidy removal and then we're bringing up the issue of palliatives? Sometimes I confuse the both. I wonder, is this not another name being given to subsidy removal? Because if you're giving us palliatives and then you say subsidy is not good, what are we doing? Are we not confusing ourselves?
Well, it's a confusion, as you have rightly said, and this has always been the issue with the Nigerian nation. And unfortunately, the Nigerian people, you know, actually do not want to lend. And it's quite unfortunate. Government is behaving in such a way that as if the only thing they know to do is fiscal activities and fiscal policies. Government in this part of our world is only concerned in revenue generation without minding how such revenue so generated could be applied. So that has always been a problem. That we have a government that is so conscious of the obligations of the citizens without minding the rights and the privileges of the citizens. And unfortunately, we also have citizens that is conscious of their rights and privileges without minding what their responsibilities should be. So it's always a state of dilemma, it's always a confusion.
Now, in this case,
it's quite unfortunate for our
country.
In this
case, what is the responsibility of the citizens? Now, we have subsidy removed, and then for the benefit of the nation, and then we're talking about palliatives, and then we're seeing increase in fuel price, and it's coming, I think, in 3 months we've seen it raise like 3 times. So that means in the coming month, September, it's still going to rise again, if it rises again now.
Well, first and foremost, the citizens should understand that if fuel subsidy is being removed, as met us believed by the government, then the citizens should rise up and let the government know that they have no business having removed subsidy or having deregulated that sector. Government has no business to be fixing prices. Now, so that's the first thing. That's the first decision.
Well, I don't think government is responsible for fixing prices.
Well. If you follow the trend, you understand that before we will have any increase, and NNPCL must have come up and said this and that. And that to some extent is government still driving the prices. That to some extent is government still determining the prices, which is a whole lot of deceit. So what are we deregulating? So citizens should be able to rise up and say, government, this is not the way to go.
That brings strike action that the NLC is warning about. And I know very well that you're not in support of strike action as well.
Well, not that not in support of strike actions, but that's because government or public businesses in Nigeria has always been characterized by deceit and insincerity of purpose. While the government is not sincere to the people, the so-called labor leaders are not sincere to the people as well. So going on strikes, first and foremost, we should ask ourselves, who are the people that have been on the losing side? Are they the labor leaders? Are they the government or the citizenry, the masses? So we should understand that fact. And we should also understand the fact that the organized labor in Nigeria has been part of the problem that we are having in Nigeria. Unfortunately, we don't seem to be mindful of history. So NLC, be it as it may, should not behave as another government in the country. So they should be mindful of their actions and their utterances. And of course, Nigerian people should come to the stage where we first and foremost try to see how we can midwife the concept of sincerity, the concept of accountability in our economy and in our country. Otherwise, certain group of people will continue to be taking this country and the citizens for granted.
Now, Mr. Peter, between July 26 and yesterday, we've been having series of reports trickling in from Niger, especially as regards the coup that took place on the 26th of July. The ECOWAS members, with the chairman of the council being our president, Bola Tinubu, have been doing everything possible to see that democracy is restored in Niger. Now, would you say that the way the ECOWAS body is going about the resolution of the impasse, the crisis in Niger, is what's supposed to be? They're saying that nothing is off the table, that if they try to be diplomatic and at the end of the day it doesn't work, they're still going to use force. Do you think that the way the ECOWAS is going about resolving the issues in Niger is what's supposed to be?
Well, for me, it's totally off it. Why do I have to say so? First and foremost, it appears that the ECOWAS leaders, have some sort of parochial and ulterior motives.
How do you mean?
It seems they are more concerned of what will happen to their country next, and not actually trying to, entrench democracy in that country.
I'm sorry.
Now, let me say this.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Let me say this. Not that I am supporting coup or whatever, but we should ask ourselves a question: that what is democracy without dividends? What is politics without governance? What is governance without service delivery? So for me, the ECOWAS leaders are more concerned of their safety in power. They are more concerned, looking at it from the perspective that it's as if the citizens have woken up. It's as if the people are now wiser. So for me, their action is not patriotic. It seems there's something that, they don't want the people to understand. They don't want the people to know. So in as much as they try to sound so political that they are concerned about democracy, then we should ask them, what have we benefiting from the so-called democracy? You cannot talk about democracy without the welfare of the people. So what has happened in Niger is a wake-up call to African leaders. It's a wake-up call that African leaders should be mindful of their actions while in public office. They cannot continue to use democracy to deceive us when things are not working. Then they want us to believe that democracy is the way to go, and what service delivery have the citizens been gaining? So for African leaders, for the ECOWAS, they should first and foremost check themselves. Have they been living up to their billings? Have they been discharging their constitutional responsibilities of protecting lives and properties and ensuring that the welfare of the citizens are taken care of? Otherwise, I would say there is something that they are so much afraid, which for me seems to be personal. It seems to be parochial.
That's where I still want to
drag.
That's where I still want to drag you inside, because you talked about safety of their own nation, right? Now, first thing I would like to ask, the first thing I've noticed about the Niger coup is that while the ECOWAS member states are worried, it seems to me like the Nigerian citizens are not looking that worried, right, about the coup. Now, I don't know, I'm just reading from far. And you're saying it looks like the ECOWAS member states, the leaders are coming into broker peace because they are afraid of something, afraid of safety of their nation. Let's say...
not really their nation to some extent, but their offices, their individual offices and positions. Let's get it right.
Let's say something happens.
Okay.
Let's say President Bola Tinubu led ECOWAS Council, wanted to go in the way they wanted to go in, by force, when the Niger Republic coup leaders had said, no, we are not open for dialogue, we're not ready to listen to you, because they had rejected the first, people that went to broker peace, And then, let's say the still went that way, and then over the weekend we had different reports like ECOWAS member states are saying the military should get ready just in case anything happens, and or something happens, what do you think is going to be the effect on the country, on other countries? For example, Nigeria, that would have gone in with full force to, of course, use force to restore back the democratically elected President Bazoum. What do you think would have been the feedback on Nigerians?
Well, before coming to the feedback, before coming to the impact on Nigerians, we have to first and foremost understand that the actions of the chairman of the ECOWAS, first and foremost, was harsh, if you ask me. If you ask me, that action was more of emotional driven than a diplomatic. You don't condemn a coup d'etat. You don't condemn dictatorship, and in your utterances you are sounding more dictatorial than the dictators themselves. That, for me, is not the way to go.
So you believe they should have given a listening ear to
the world over militarization has always been the last resort. You must have some level of respect to both the internal and the external sovereignty of nations. That negates every known etiquette of countries mediating and negotiating in countries that have peace, that have crisis. So we must be careful in our actions. And coming to look at it again, it seems we are trying, the ECOWAS leaders are trying to be more Catholic than the Pope. It seems that they are trying to be crying more than they bereave. If you look at what is happening in that country, it seems that the leaders of the junta, so to say, is enjoying some level of the general will of the people. It seems the people are on their side. So why are we acting as if, you know, it is the ECOWAS other nations?
Okay, so you feel they should go in and check what favors the people, if it's a coup or
first and foremost, dialogue and negotiation has always been the way to go. You can't just want to restore democracy, then the first thing you talk about is military actions. Mind you, Niger is a republic, is a sovereign nation. It's not just a department in one of these ECOWAS countries. So you don't sit out somewhere and be giving commands. Otherwise, that will look as if that country is not sovereign.
All right, thank you so much. I wish you could go much to talk about Niger Republic, because we have so many issues there. But over the week, of course, some developments are coming in, so we'll definitely revisit Niger Republic. But let's come back to Nigeria right now. Well, over the weekend, the Senate President Godswill Akpabio had made a statement that is causing so much controversy on not just social media, but even among the senators themselves. But this is just to remind the people that they can get to join us. The phone number will be displayed on the TV screen. Feel free to call us or send us a text message. So coming back to you. Now, the statement which he made about giving a token, putting a token into their bank accounts of the senators by the clerk of the House to help them enjoy their holiday had stirred so many reactions. And of course, which he immediately corrected himself after one of the senators in Dome had alerted that they are still on live TV, national TV, and then he immediately said, "Oh, I've sent some prayers into your boxes," which is still, you know, stirring up so much controversy. What do you have to say about that? I mean, considering the fact that the people of Nigeria are grappling with the economic situation of the nation, of course, having, you know, faced removal of fuel subsidy.
Well, for me, I feel there is a fundamental problem with the citizens of Nigeria. In as much as that episode, that scene, you know, appears so comic, so funny, for me, it seems Nigerians will always leave fundamental issues to amplify so much on trivial issues. Now, why do I say so? Government businesses all over the world should be conducted with some level of transparency and openness. It's only in Nigeria that we believe that government activity should be shrouded in high level of secrecy and what have you. So what is wrong if Nigerians should know what senators are entitled to?
The senators went home with
Is there anything wrong with that? If you ask me, is that actually the problem of Nigerians? If God will not make that statement, will the senators still not be entitled to whatever they should be entitled to? So for me, the citizens should actually look at issues that will better their lives and not just given to this sort of entertainment.
Not just citizens, even the senators themselves, the likes of Senator Aline Dume, the likes of Senator Ningi, still had a problem with the statement.
That's because they feel that the public should not be aware of what they are earning.
But in the light of the economic realities in Nigeria today, as we see it, do you think that it is okay and sensitive enough for the senators to be having tokens for merely presiding over? That's not their salary. It's just a token.
Holiday
they call
allowance.
it a token. They are supposed to. Are they entitled to that, considering the situation that Nigerians are going through?
Awaiting palliative.
And I don't want to believe that it is that trivial, that it's okay for them to go away with about over 200 million naira for just the holiday recess. Is that really okay?
Well, for me, I like being objective and very much try as much as possible to be sincere in my insinuations and views. 2 million naira to a senator, if you ask me, is like 2,000 to a common man.
I think
joining,
I think that's
ask me, it's like a 20,000 naira to a common man.
That's exactly.
Now the point is this.
That's the point.
The point is this. If that package is statutory, as in if it has the backings of the law, for me there is nothing wrong with that.
Now,
but
we're not
shouldn't
saying
it be
there's something
reviewed?
wrong
we
with
should
it
look
this
at
time?
it from this perspective, that in Nigeria it seems that it is only the political sector that is vibrant. It seems it is only the political sector that is working. And that is why a whole lot of people that shouldn't have business in politics and governance are actually doing everything within their reach to get in there. So to solve that problem is not just to cry where we shouldn't cry. To solve that problem is to hold government accountable to ensure that every sector of our economy works. Is to hold government accountable to ensure that there is employment for the youth, that there is job creations in the economy, so that everybody can be properly taken care of. So for me, I don't see anything so wrong.
Mr.
So
Peter,
far, it
Mr.
is
Peter,
backed up by
Mr.
the
Peter,
law.
If I can quickly chip this in, don't you think that it would go a long way to make vying for any political position what you are entitled to make it as much unattractive as possible? Do you think that this is going to deter some of the politicians who go in there for their own selfish reasons, not because they want to influence the lives of Nigerians positively, but because they're going there to be entitled to all the
Holiday
GC take-homes,
allowances.
all the tokens? Do you think that it's important
All the prayers.
to make political offices and the take-home unattractive as possible, to deter some of these politicians who are going there for their selfish reasons?
Now,
Well,
I
I
also
feel-
consider cost of governance, because we've been talking about this issue all the week.
I feel we are saying the same thing in a different way. We are saying the same thing in a different way. Now, what I'm saying is this. We as citizens should try as much as possible see what we can do to hold government accountable, to make government works, and to ensure that the political sector is not all that enticing. If that happens, that sector will be sanitized. If that happens, and what do I mean? If other sectors of the economy are working, say as you are working there, your welfare package is something that is comparable to that of a senator, it will lead to a situation whereby people will be retired to their area of interest, to where their passion is, and not actually where the money is. I don't know if you understand my point. So that is that. Then we also have to look at it from the perspective that if that is what the senators are entitled to, then we shouldn't have issues with that. This is not the first time we are having the Nigerian Senate. This is not the first time that they will be getting such money. It is only that this has been blown open.
Okay,
I feel the Nigerian people should celebrate it.
Let me say
For
something.
the leadership of the Senate president coming to let Nigerians know what each senator is entitled to in the midst of harsh economy.
Yeah, you failed
and
to
not
mention
something
that, so
we
I
should
wanted to bring
actually
that
be
into your
condemning
mind.
the Senate president.
Well, the problem is not if it's backed by law. We're talking about reducing cost of governance right now. We're talking about palliatives for people who are suffering untold hardships that has been laid by the, what did the NLC call it, or the other unions, people policies by the president, according to the union leaders. Now, in a face of economic hardship, face of economic crisis where cost of living is becoming unbearable for Nigerians and even the people, okay, fine, let me say the poor or the average man, if the average man becomes poor, what happens to the poor? It becomes even more
well,
poorer.
let me just say this. You don't reduce the cost of governance through sentiments. You use that within the armpits of the law. You follow due process, and that will lead to some level of amendment in our constitution, in our laws. I don't know if you understand my point. So we shouldn't, use an approach that is not known to the law to solve a problem that is backed up by the law. Now, having said that, let's come to the other statement that you made, that the labor leaders are saying that this administration is making some anti-people policies. Then I will want them to name such policies, because I have said time without number that the problems of the Nigerian public, the problems of our country, is insincerity of purpose in one and psychophancy on the other hand on the part of citizens. When this administration were making some economic policies, the suspension of some level some money that should be paid in the categorization of taxes. Okay. Mind you, the government was not coming to say they have actually removed such taxes. I don't know if you understand my point. They only said they have suspended it for a month, and Nigerians were jubilating. For me, I was like, what are they jubilating?
I'm just
that this government is only trying to have an opportunity to settle down, to understand the framework of the law, to understand the environment, and Nigerians were actually calling them that they have done well, they have done. That is insincerity of purpose. So citizens should live above that until we ourselves are sincere, until we ourselves, are sound and knowledgeable and allow that to drive our engagement. We'll continue to have these problems, for God's sake. So it's all of us. It's a Nigerian problem. And we cannot continue the same old way and expect a different result. Citizens must not behave the way they have been behaving since in the era of the colonial masters and expect things to work. Government should not behave in the way they have been behaving since 1960 and expect a magic to happen. That has been my viewpoint.
So we'll have to come back to review.
Of course, we have to come to the drawing board. We have to come to where we sit down and define for ourselves how we want government businesses to be conducted.
Okay, so I'm just looking at our time. I'm sorry to cut you, but we have to close the curtains here. Well, during the week, of course, we'll get to talk about some of these issues here on the program, the love of people and governance. Thank you so much for coming through, Paulino Spita.
Thank you very much. It has always been my pleasure to be here.
Okay.
And many thanks. I think that's a very fine place to live it. It behoves on the citizens and the government to work together in synergy to ensure that the areas that needs to be resolved are resolved, so that we can have a better economy and people would live fine and enjoy their lives.
All right, don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTv.ng, and also follow us on Twitter at SpectrumTonline, all as one word. Meanwhile, this is where we close the curtains today. Catch you again tomorrow. I am Rachel David White.
I'm Xavier Robert. You have a great day.